talk about USA basketball. Did a video yesterday afternoon late that Caitlin Clark is among a number of participants that's headed to the senior training camp for Team USA. Now, I would assume, right? Oh, they've learned all kinds of lessons after failing to put Caitlin Clark on Team USA during the...
Just when everyone thought USA basketball had finally figured it out, they went ahead and proved they haven't learned a single thing. After months of celebration over Caitlin Clark getting invited to the senior training camp, the organization dropped a promotional graphic that sent shockwaves through the entire basketball community. And here's the problem. The one face that should have been front and center, the player who's literally transformed the entire sport, was completely missing, not buried in the background, not given a smaller spot, just gone. This wasn't some innocent oversight or a simple mistake by an intern. This was a calculated decision that immediately reignited one of the most controversial debates in women's basketball history. The silence from USA Basketball's leadership has been absolutely deafening, and fans are connecting the dots in ways that paint a very disturbing picture about how the organization really feels about their biggest star. Many of you have been saying this for weeks. You saw the patterns before most of the mainstream media caught on. You noticed how every step forward with Caitlin Clark seems to come with 2 steps back from the people running the show. And once again, you were absolutely right to be skeptical. What we're looking at here isn't just bad marketing. It's a window into the internal politics that continue to hold women's basketball back from reaching its full potential. Let's filter out the noise and focus on what actually matters. USA Basketball released a graphic welcoming 18 athletes to their December training camp in Durham, North Carolina. The graphic featured talented players like Kelsey Plum and Chelsea Gray. But the one name that casual fans would recognize, the player who's responsible for record-breaking television ratings and sold-out arenas across the country, wasn't there. Caitlin Clark's face was nowhere to be found on a promotional image that was supposed to generate excitement for the program's future. If you believe the story behind the story matters, smash that like button. It tells us we're on the right track. Because what we're about to break down goes way beyond one graphic. This is about a pattern of decisions that threatens to derail the growth of women's basketball right when it's reaching heights nobody thought possible. The backlash was immediate and massive. Sports journalist Christine Brennan posted a critique that cut right to the heart of the issue. She pointed out something so simple, yet so devastating. If USA Basketball genuinely wanted to promote women's basketball and bring in new fans, they obviously would have featured Caitlin Clark prominently in their promotional materials. Her post went absolutely viral, racking up over 250,000 views and forcing USA Basketball into full damage control mode. Here's where things get really interesting. USA Basketball started quietly deleting and hiding social media posts with that controversial graphic. The main post is technically still up, but it's getting absolutely destroyed in the comments section. This retreat speaks volumes about how badly they miscalculated the public reaction. But here's the thing. In today's world where screenshots live forever and nothing truly disappears from the internet, trying to memory hole this disaster just makes it look even worse. You were onto something when you noticed this feels painfully familiar. This is the exact same organization that made the controversial decision to leave Caitlin Clark off the Olympic roster just months ago. That choice triggered a firestorm of criticism from some of the most powerful voices in sports. The person running the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics publicly called it a terrible decision. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said it was a massive missed opportunity to grow women's basketball on a global stage. These weren't casual comments from random observers. These were pointed criticisms from the very top of the sports world, people whose entire careers depend on understanding what drives engagement and grows audiences. The message from leadership couldn't have been more crystal clear. And USA Basketball just completely ignored it. The Olympic snub had real, measurable consequences Fans didn't just complain online and move on, they actually boycotted women's basketball events during the Olympics. Television ratings for those games absolutely cratered compared to what analysts had projected if Clark had been on the roster. This wasn't a few angry posts on social media. This was a coordinated response from a passionate fan base that felt disrespected and ignored. Multiple sources from inside the basketball community have been whispering about the internal dynamics at play here. There's a growing perception that established players and coaching staff view Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise as a threat rather than an opportunity. Reading between the lines of various statements and decisions, you can see an organization that seems more concerned with protecting egos and maintaining traditional hierarchies than capitalizing on a once-in-a-generation talent. Let's talk about the financial impact that USA Basketball is deliberately walking away from. When Caitlin Clark plays, television networks see ratings that shatter expectations. NBC should have been absolutely furious about the Olympic decision. If Clark had been on that team, we could have been looking at viewership numbers that rivaled the legendary Dream Team era. Even accounting for how media consumption has changed with streaming services fragmenting audiences, the potential was enormous.
In sports, something that I and many other Caitlin Clark fans also said, do you want to grow the sport? Does I said NBC should have been furious that she was not on the Olympic team. They might have shattered potentially actual Olympic basketball records, maybe outside of the old Dream Team kind of records, right? Back when television ratings in general were just higher because there was no streaming services, yada, yada, yada. But you get my point. It'd have been a huge rating.
Instead, that golden opportunity was just thrown in the garbage. The potential for record-breaking ratings, massive advertising revenue, and global exposure for women's basketball was left sitting on the table. This wasn't just bad for USA Basketball. It was bad for the broadcasters who paid huge money for Olympic rights, bad for sponsors trying to reach new demographics, and bad for every player in the WNBA who would have benefited from that exposure. Connecting the dots reveals something uncomfortable. USA Basketball has a stated mission that includes two core goals: win medals and grow the sport. They're succeeding at the first goal. But by consistently pushing their biggest star to the sidelines, they're catastrophically failing at the second. You can't claim you want to expand the audience while simultaneously alienating the one player who's proven she can bring millions of new fans to women's basketball. The pattern is undeniable now. Every time there's an opportunity to leverage Caitlin Clark's star power for the greater good of the sport, USA Basketball finds a way to fumble it. And we're not even at the worst part yet. Because what happened after that graphic went viral shows just how deep this problem really goes. Now here's where you need to drop a comment and let us know what you think about this whole situation. Because the public reaction to this graphic controversy reveals something fascinating about where the fan base actually stands versus where USA Basketball thinks they stand. Are they really this out of touch with their own audience, or is something else going on here? Let us know your theory in the comments section. The data doesn't lie, and it tells a story that USA Basketball desperately wants to ignore. After the Olympic roster snub, viewership for Indiana Fever games that featured Caitlin Clark dropped by over 50% in certain markets. Think about what that means. The most popular female athlete on the planet, playing in front of audiences that were already breaking WNBA attendance records, still saw massive viewership declines because fans were actively protesting USA Basketball's decision. That's not normal fan behavior. That's a coordinated message from a community that felt betrayed. And instead of learning from that clear market signal, USA Basketball just doubled down on the same approach that caused the problem in the first place. We're getting into speculation territory here, but multiple sources within basketball circles are suggesting there's genuine tension behind the scenes. Some established players reportedly view Clark's instant superstar status as unearned, despite the objective reality that she's bringing unprecedented attention to the sport. If these reports are accurate, we're looking at a situation where internal politics are actively sabotaging the sport's growth potential. There are even whispers about the new coaching staff feeling threatened by Clark's popularity. Whether there's any truth to those rumors or not, the perception itself is incredibly damaging. Because when fans start believing that decisions are being made based on jealousy or ego rather than what's best for the sport, trust in the institution completely evaporates. Let's address the uncomfortable question that keeps coming up in fan discussions. Some people have started pointing to past examples like Diana Taurasi being selected for Olympic teams only to barely play, suggesting USA Basketball has a pattern of prioritizing legacy names over current star power and audience appeal. Others are going even further, asking if there's a double standard being applied to Caitlin Clark specifically. The WNBA community is buzzing about whether Clark's background, her style of play, or other factors are leading to treatment that other players wouldn't face. Now, Joss, we can't confirm those theories as fact, but the pattern of decisions is creating an environment where those questions seem reasonable to ask. And that alone represents a massive problem for USA Basketball's.
Added the photo of one other player to this graphic, but no. I'm going to keep it real. She's the only player I'd have put on that graphic. The only player. I mean, at some point, women's basketball has got to quit worrying about hurting people's little feelings. Seriously, do you want to grow or do you not want to grow? I mean, you put Kaylee Copper, okay, Kelsey Plum, and I'm guessing this is probably Chelsea Gray, right?
What makes this even more frustrating is how obvious the solution is. Caitlin Clark is currently the most globally recognizable player in women's basketball. That's not an opinion. That's a measurable fact based on social media following, merchandise sales, television ratings, and international media coverage. To deliberately exclude her from promotional materials isn't a marketing strategy. It's organizational malpractice. Fans have been connecting these dots for months now. They see an organization that claims it wants to grow women's basketball while simultaneously rejecting every opportunity to leverage their most valuable marketing asset. It's like owning a restaurant and refusing to put your most popular dish on the menu because the chef who created it 5 years ago might get their feelings hurt. Social media is lighting up with theories about what's really driving these decisions. Some fans believe it's generational conflict between established stars and the new guard. Others think it's about maintaining control and ensuring that no single player becomes bigger than the program itself. Whatever the real motivation is, the end result is the same. USA Basketball is actively working against its own stated goals. Here's the reality check that nobody in Durham seems willing to accept. If they leave Caitlin Clark off the final roster for any future major competition, the backlash will make the Olympic controversy look like a minor disagreement. We're talking about potential boycotts not just from casual fans, but from sponsors, broadcasters, and media partners who understand what drives ratings and revenue. The financial implications are staggering. Every decision to minimize Clark's role represents millions of dollars in lost revenue potential. Ticket sales, broadcast rights, merchandise, international licensing deals. All of it takes a hit when you bench your biggest star for reasons that fans can't understand or justify. Multiple sources are whispering about emergency meetings behind closed doors at USA Basketball headquarters. The viral backlash over this graphic apparently caught leadership completely off guard, which itself is stunning. How could they not see this coming after what happened with the Olympics? Either they're remarkably tone deaf, or they genuinely believe they could manage the narrative better this time. Reading between the lines of the organization's silence, it appears they're stuck between two impossible positions. double down and risk alienating their entire casual fan base, or admit the mistake and face questions about why they keep making the same errors in judgment. Neither option looks good for them. Here's what needs to happen next. USA Basketball needs to make an actual public statement acknowledging what everyone already knows. Caitlin Clark is essential to the future of women's basketball in America, not just as a talented player agent, but as the face of the sport's growth. That means featuring her prominently in all promotional materials, including her on every major roster where she's healthy and available, and stopping this pattern of treating her popularity like it's a problem to be managed rather than an asset to be leveraged. The December training camp is going to be fascinating to watch. Every decision USA Basketball makes from here forward will be analyzed through the lens of whether they've finally learned their lesson or if they're determined to repeat their mistakes no matter the cost. If you want to stay ahead of this story as it develops, make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on, because something tells me this is far from over. USA Basketball has created a situation where anything less than full embrace of Caitlin Clark is going to be seen as another snub. And the pressure is only going to increase from here. The choice is crystal clear. Grow the sport by leveraging your biggest star, or watch from the sidelines as fan frustration turns into permanent alienation. Until next time,